Ghouls and gals, I'm the Otherworldly reviewer, and welcome to Otherworldly Reviews. Today, we're reviewing the horror master Kevin Smith. Wait, what the fuck? The horror master Kevin Smith? Motherfucker made Clerks. He ain't no horror master. Fuck it, let's get into it. Today, we're reviewing Tusk, a movie about a walrus. Well, not a walrus per se, but a guy that gets turned into a walrus by another guy who's might be in love with a walrus, or had sex with a walrus, or did some weird shit with a walrus. Nonetheless, the movie is about a walrus. Well, the movie starts off with Justin Long, who was our main character. Him and Haley Joel Osment from The Sixth Sense. You remember that kid, the I See Dead People kid? Yeah, he's back and fatter than ever. He looks like he ate his old self. And he and Justin Long have a podcast called The Nazi Party, as they say in the movie. But it's not Nazi like Nazi. It's Nazi like Notsee, which I thought was fucking clever as hell and very fucking funny. And well, they do this podcast where they talk about random videos, things that are hilarious, of that sort. And well, they come across this video called The Kill Bill Kid, where this kid's in his fucking garage and he's playing with a samurai sword and he accidentally cuts his fucking leg off. And so they find that fucking hilarious, which it really is, because the kid in the video is fatter than hell. It's kind of like a spoof on the Star Wars kid, if you remember that. Star Wars kid, you know, where he was like where they caught him in I think he was in like the auditorium playing with himself, and not in the cool way. He goes to Canada to try and interview this guy, the Kill Bill Kid. And when he gets to the Kill Bill Kid's house, he finds out that the Kill Bill Kid killed himself with his own sword. So that trip is fucked, and so now his podcast is fucked. And so he's thinking, what is he going to do? How is he going to get a show? Where is he going to go? So he makes his way to this bar called Bar H, and he's there drinking, and he goes to the restroom to fucking take a leak, and he comes across this letter they have on the bathroom wall, and it's talking about this man who has a room for rent, and that you could stay in the room as long as you perform household chores, and you act like a walrus. And if you did all those things, you would live there free of charge. And like any other normal person, Justin Long takes the letter and finds this guy and tracks him down and goes to his house and proceeds to try and interview him. And wouldn't you fucking know it, the guy poisons him and tries to turn him into a fucking walrus. They have tea and sit down, and he talks to him about walrus cocks, and how they have a bone in them to get them to fuck other walruses. And actually, I did learn something from that. I learned what a walrus cockbone was called. It's called an usik. That's what a walrus cockbone is called, an usik. Who the fuck would have known that? Nonetheless, they talk for a while, bullshit for a while, and they're drinking tea. And Justin Long starts feeling woozy from the tea, and ends up passing out. And he wakes up, sort of feeling hungover and kind of disoriented and fucked up. And this is where it's kind of ironic, I guess it was a word you would use, is that he wakes up with no leg. He's missing a leg, just like the guy he was going to go and make fun of, the Kill Bill Kid. So it's kind of funny / fucked up. And the reason that he's given why his leg was cut off was that the guy that he goes to visit, whose name is Howard Howe, who's played by Michael Parks, who's an awesome fucking actor. Well, Howard Howe gives Justin Long's character Wallace the explanation that a brown recluse spider bit him on the leg, and that he passed out, and that in order to stop the poison from spreading to his whole body, that he had to cut his leg off. So let me let that soak in for a second. Yeah. And well, when Wallace asks where his phone is or how he could call somebody, Michael Parks' character, Howard Howe, tells him that the doctor thought it would be necessary to rip out all the phones in the house and not use any communication with the outside world that would expedite the process of him healing, which makes no sense at all, but we're gonna go with it. Then we go to this very, I don't know how to explain this scene. This very interesting scene where Michael Parks and Justin Long are at a dinner table, and Justin Long's questioning him about the reason on how his leg got cut off, and Michael Parks tells him it was a brown recluse. He sticks to his story, and Justin Long tells him bullshit. There was no brown recluse spider. And he's like, well, what did it look like? And he was like, well, he was like, it's a betsy, or however the fuck he says it. And they go to this awesome back and forth, and it kind of reminds me of like an old-timey like monster type movie, in that sense, like a midnight movie. And they have this cool part where he's screaming for help, and Michael Parks just matches his scream, so they're both just there screaming at each other, and it's fucking hysterical, and it's awesome. And there's also another part where Michael Parks stands up from his wheelchair because he's playing a wheelchair-bound man, and he stands up from his wheelchair and he like bitch slaps Justin Long right across the face, and so that was all those things are pretty cool. And then we make our way to another scene where we meet Wallace's girlfriend, and she's talking to somebody, and she's having a very emotional speech on about how the thing that she's doing is very wrong, and how she knows that Wallace is an asshole, and how that if her father could see her now, he'd be ashamed of what she was doing. And then you turn to find out that she's fucking Wallace's best friend, Haley Joel Osment, who is also his podcasting partner. So they're fucking each other behind his back. And then you also find out that Wallace, Justin Long's character, cheats on his girlfriend, who was played by Genesis Rodriguez, like all the time. That he's always fucking cheating on her. So he plays pretty much an asshole in this movie, Justin Long. And it goes to the point to where Justin Long is going insane, and he can't find a phone to call, and he ends up waking up in a room in this house, in this huge mansion that they're at, and he finds his cell phone on the floor, and he tries to call his girlfriend, but she doesn't answer. She doesn't hear the phone ring. And then he calls his friend Wallace's phone. He calls his friend Haley Joel Osment's phone, and Haley Joel Osment sees that he's calling, but like a fucking dickhead, does not answer the phone. Like, he just leaves it. He just looks at the phone and lets it ring, and then just fuck it. And well, Justin Long leaves messages on both of their phones telling them what's going on, and then how this guy wants to turn into a fucking walrus and all this other bullshit. And they hear the message in the morning, and then they try to find him, and they go on this crazy fucking montage where people don't want to believe them and all that. And they make their way to Canada. They make their way to Canada to meet Johnny Depp with Johnny Depp. Why should I call him Johnny Dick in this movie? Because he has a dick on his face. Johnny Dick Face, I think is his name in this movie. Which is it? No, that's not his name. His name is Guy Lapointe in this film. And he plays this sort of detective who has a dickish nose and is kind of weird and an alcoholic and kind of a chain smoker. So he plays Johnny Depp, but without the dick nose face. And Guy Lapointe has been chasing this killer for a long time. He's been chasing Michael Parks for a very long time, and it turns out that Johnny Depp's character, Guy Lapointe, once met Michael Parks' character, but Michael Parks was portraying a country bumpkin-esque type guy, and Johnny Depp says that he knows where this man lives, and so they go to a convenience store that Justin Long stopped at before he went to Michael Parks' house, and he meets these two girls that work at the convenience store, and they tell him about where he was going and stuff, and he does it's a very funny scene. He does this thing with the Big Lebowski. In the Big Lebowski, they like write on a paper, and they take the paper out, and they do like a thing with the fucking pencil. Well, it's hard to fucking explain, but he fucking does that shit in the movie, and it was fucking funny as fuck. All right, and well, they go to to the residence of Michael Parks, and they infiltrate it, and they have all these guns and all this badass shit. And meanwhile, while they're doing that, Michael Parks has already fully transformed Justin Long into a walrus. So you get to see what he looks like as a walrus, and it is fucking terrifying. When I first saw it, I literally was like, what the motherfucking fuck is that? And it's pretty fucking disturbing. He pushes him into the water and tries to make him swim like a walrus, and he gets all the way to the deep, and he sees a walrus that was before him, and it's like all skeleton and bone, and it's tripped out. And Justin Long makes his way back up, and Michael Parks greets him with a weird old man ass, and he's naked with his old man balls swinging around everywhere. And they get into a duel and they fight, and Justin Long goes all fucking animalistic on him and stabs him in the foot with his tusk and knocks him down and ends up killing him and stuff. And at that point, Johnny Depp and Genesis Rodriguez and Haley Joel Osment, they break into the house, and they have a chance to kill Wallace, Justin Long's character, but they end up showing pity on him and leaving him there in the house. They make the house into like some sort of wildlife refuge for like aquatic animals or some shit. Well, it seems to me that he's the only one there. And at the end of the movie, it shows Genesis Rodriguez and Haley Joel Osment. They go to visit Wallace, Justin Long's character, who is now a walrus, who has gone full walrus after they cut his tongue out and he can't talk anymore and his body's fused to that. It shows that he is now a walrus and that he identifies as a walrus, and at the end of the movie they throw him a big old fish and they call it a day and the movie ends. So that's Tusk. Does it suck? Did it deserve all of the bashing it got on Twitter and all that? No. I liked it. I liked the movie a lot. I thought it was clever, funny. Kevin Smith always makes awesome movies. Even though he's not he's new to horror, he seems to like he has a good grasp of it. It was a cool movie, and it got compared a lot to the Human Centipede, which I guess the only comparison to it was that it involves like animals and it's like a torture type scenario. But other than that, those two movies have nothing in common. I heard that these movies are part of a trilogy. That after this movie, Kevin Smith is making another movie called Yoga Hosers, so that connects to the movie Tusk. So Tusk will be tied into Yoga Hosers, and Johnny Depp will reprise his role in the next film, Yoga Hosers. And also, there's a scene where you meet the two clerks that work in a store called the A to Z. They'll be coming out in the Yoga Hosers film as well. They'll be the center of focus on that film. It'll follow them. Fun fact, those two girls are actually Kevin Smith and Johnny Depp's daughters. And so, long story short, this isn't a bad movie. I recommend it. If you like gross out shit in Kevin Smith's films, I recommend this movie. So, check it out. I give it a B+. Alright, so the Otherworldly reviewer, stay weird.